Hello and welcome to Director's Choice, and today we're going to be exploring the top what-if moments in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. These moments represent some of the biggest turning points in the MCU and showcase the alternate realities that could have unfolded if things had gone differently. So, without further ado, let's dive in. The first what-if moment on our list is a big one. What if Tony Stark had never become Iron Man? As we know, Tony's decision to become a hero is what kickstarts the entire MCU. Without him, the Avengers may never have formed, and the universe may have been left vulnerable to threats like Thanos. In the comic book series Iron Man, Hypervelocity, we see a version of Tony Stark who never became Iron Man. In this reality, Tony is still a genius inventor, but he's also a ruthless businessman who will stop at nothing to achieve his goals. Without the transformation that comes with becoming a hero, Tony remains a flawed character who is willing to put himself and his interests above others. The next what-if moment on our list involves Thor and his trusty hammer, Mjolnir. In the MCU, Thor is able to wield Mjolnir because he is deemed worthy by Odin. But what if that had never happened? In the comic book series Thor, God of Thunder, we see a version of Thor who is no longer able to wield Mjolnir. This is a major turning point for the character, as it forces him to find new ways to fight evil. Without his signature weapon, Thor may never have been able to stop his brother Loki and the Chitauri invasion in the Avengers. Our next what-if moment involves Thor's brother Loki. In the MCU, Loki is adopted by Odin and becomes the god of mischief. But what if that had never happened? In the comic book series Loki, Agent of Asgard, we see a version of Loki who was never adopted by Odin. In this reality, Loki is a much different character, one who is not burdened by his past and is able to use his powers for good. Without the events that led to his villainy in the MCU, Loki may have been a very different character. The next what-if moment on our list is a big one. What if the Avengers had failed to stop Loki and the Chitauri invasion of New York City? In the comic book series Avengers, Ultron Forever, we see a version of the MCU where the Avengers fail to stop the alien invasion and are unable to save the city. This reality results in a much different world, one where Earth is left vulnerable to future alien invasions, and the Avengers never become the heroes that they are known as. Our next what-if moment involves the villainous robot Ultron and his plan to destroy the Avengers and humanity. In the comic book series Avengers, Age of Ultron, we see a version of the MCU where Ultron is successful in his plan. This results in a world where Earth is left vulnerable to other threats, and the Avengers are no longer around to protect it. This scenario showcases the catastrophic consequences that could have occurred if the Avengers had failed in their mission to stop Ultron. The next what-if moment on our list involves Tony Stark and his creation of the android Vision. In the comic book series The Vision, we see a version of the MCU where Tony never creates Vision. This results in a world where the Avengers are unable to defeat Ultron and other threats, and Vision is never able to help save the universe from Thanos. This scenario showcases the importance of Vision in the MCU and how things could have been different without him. Our next what-if moment involves T'Challa and his role as King of Wakanda. In the comic book series Black Panther, A Nation Under Our Feet, we see a version of the MCU where T'Challa is never crowned King of Wakanda. This results in a world where Wakanda is not able to help the Avengers in the fight against Thanos, and T'Challa never becomes a key player in the MCU. This scenario showcases the importance of T'Challa's leadership in the MCU and how it affects the fate of the universe. The next what-if moment on our list involves Doctor Strange and his mastery of the mystical arts. In the comic book series Doctor Strange, The Oath, we see a version of the MCU where Doctor Strange never becomes the Sorcerer Supreme and never learns the mystical arts. This results in a world where Strange is unable to help the Avengers in their battles against otherworldly threats, and the MCU takes on a more grounded tone. This scenario showcases the importance of Doctor Strange in the MCU and how his abilities affect the fate of the universe. Our next what-if moment involves the Guardians of the Galaxy and their fight against Ronan the Accuser. In the comic book series Guardians of the Galaxy, Original Sin, we see a version of the MCU where the Guardians fail to stop Ronan the Accuser and are unable to save the galaxy from his destructive plans. This results in a world where Ronan becomes a major villain in the MCU, and the Guardians are left without their reputation as saviors of the galaxy. This scenario showcases the importance of the Guardians of the Galaxy in the MCU and how their actions affect the fate of the universe. The next what if moment on our list involves the villainous Thanos and his quest for the Infinity Stones. In the comic book series Infinity, we see a version of the MCU where Thanos is never able to acquire the Infinity Stones. This results in a world where the Avengers never have to face the threat of the snap, and the events of the MCU take on a much different shape. This scenario showcases the importance of the Infinity Stones in the MCU and how their power affects the fate of the universe. The next what if moment on our list involves the aftermath of the snap. In the comic book series The Thanos Imperative, we see a version of the MCU where the snap is never reversed, and half of all life in the universe remains dead. This results in a world where the Avengers are unable to save their friends and loved ones, and the MCU takes on a much darker tone. This scenario showcases the catastrophic consequences of the snap and how it affects the fate of the universe. The next what if moment on our list involves Captain America and his decision to return the Infinity Stones. In the comic book series Exiles, we see a version of the MCU where Captain America never goes back in time to return the Infinity Stones to their proper place in history. This results in a world where the timeline is irreparably damaged, and the events of the MCU take on a much different shape. This scenario showcases the importance of time travel in the MCU and how it affects the fate of the universe. The next what if moment on our list involves Tony Stark and his fate in the MCU. In the comic book series Iron Man Extremis, we see a version of the MCU where Tony Stark survives the events of Avengers Endgame and continues to be a major player in the MCU. This results in a world where Tony is able to continue his work as a hero and inventor, and the MCU takes on a different direction. This scenario showcases the impact of Tony's death on the fate of the universe, and how things could have been different if he had survived. The next what if moment on our list involves Captain America and his decision to pass on his shield. In the comic book series Captain America, Sam Wilson, we see a version of the MCU where Steve Rogers does not give his shield to Sam Wilson at the end of Avengers Endgame. This results in a world where Sam does not become the new Captain America, and the events of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier take on a much different shape. This scenario showcases the importance of the shield in the MCU and how it affects the fate of the universe. The final what if moment on our list involves the concept of the multiverse. In the comic book series Spider-Verse, we see a version of the MCU where the multiverse is introduced much earlier in the timeline. This results in a world where characters from different dimensions and realities interact with each other, and the events of the MCU take on a much more complex and layered shape. This scenario showcases the potential of the multiverse in the MCU and how it could affect the fate of the universe moving forward. And that wraps up our list of the top 20 what if moments in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Each of these scenarios showcases the potential for alternate realities and the impact that small decisions can have on the fate of the universe. Thank you for joining us on Director's Choice, and we'll see you next time.